Hello and welcome to another episode of Paradox, the Untold Stories of Athletic Directors, brought to you by our sponsor, Ticket Spigot, the official ticket provider of the NIAAA. I'm excited to join you today. We have an incredible guest, Mr. LTI, which we'll get to dive into a little bit. I'm Dustin Smith, and my co-host, as always, is Dr. Danielle Lapointe. Danielle, how are you this morning?
I'm great. Excited to be here and to talk to a fellow Floridian this morning. Yeah. So let me start off and introduce Dan Talbot. He is our guest today. He has a long list of committees and things that he does for our athletic director world. So hopefully I don't mess any of them up or miss any of them. But he is the county athletic director for Polk County in Florida. He is the FACA, one of the up and coming vice presidents. He is on the FIAAA board of directors, the Florida Athletic Director Advisory Committee, the FHSAA Sectional Appeals Committee, and the NIAAAU cohort mentor. So he's not busy at all. So thank you for taking time out of your not busy day to talk to us. I'm
Of
really
course.
excited to hear your stories today. So
Uh, of, of course, pleasure to be here. And so I need to give a warning to all the athletic directors out there that may be on this show. Um, so when I got the call from Dr. Lapointe, I was like, yeah, I can think of something. There's a million things, and of course, I'm starting to think, well, can't do that one. Might lose my job over that one. That one's not appropriate. Um, don't need to be canceled over that one. Uh, but from the moment that I got your email, we scheduled this call this morning. I've had three things happen to me that I've never seen before, and no one has, because I've told the stories all over. And so this is a warning out there when you athletic directors sign up for this. Crazy things are going to happen. I mean, I can't explain it. They say things happen in threes, and the third one happened late last night. So it's been a wild ride, and like I've never seen it before, and I can't even describe it. It's just like, and I laugh about them because I think in our jobs you have to. And I always go back to the saying that when you call a fellow athletic director and how's it going? Oh, it's going great. Why are you lying to me? I mean, we all have the same parents. We all have the same issues. We all have the coaches we can't stand. The principal that you know, you know. I used to coach, so I know what you're going through. Then why are you making my life miserable if you've been where I've been? Don't tell me you've been where I've been, and then you make my life miserable. So it's interesting, but every athletic director is miserable. It's just one of those professions where we just lie to each other and tell everyone it's great, and it's really not. And but that's what I love about being an athletic director. I've coached football for many years, and believe it or not, I do have some morals and ethics. And coaching always bothered me because I would lie. I would lie through my teeth as a coach. I mean, hey Dan, you know, what do you do on this defense, and what should you do against this offense? And I would give you and I related to baking a cake. I'm going to give you some of the ingredients, but there's no way I'm giving you all the ingredients so your cake tastes as good as my cake. There's no way, because I was fearful that at some point in time we would cross paths in a game and you'd be 53 yards from me and you would take what I gave you and beat me. So I never wanted to give you everything. So I would lie to you as a football coach, and I lied all my time. I'd never give you everything. I wasn't going to give you the whole recipe book. I'll give you a couple pages and, maybe put in a teaspoon of salt instead of sugar, but I was just so competitive. I didn't want to get beat. But being an athletic director, it's nice to, we all have the same problems. We all have the same issues, and everything comes up, and things come up that you can't even fathom that come up. And, some of these stories are probably not made for public. They're more of a private setting at a conference or something, out having dinner. But there are things that happen to us that you just can't describe. And but to share those stories, because the one thing I think every athletic director needs to understand is you're not alone out there. I mean, especially with our young athletic directors, because I remember when I was young and up and coming, and the coach did something wrong, I felt responsible, and I felt bad, and it caused me, anxiety and stress, and then when you get my age, you're like, huh, that happened. Never saw that before. And then your job is to fix it. You don't take it personal. Your job is to clean it up, correct it, and make sure it doesn't happen again. But when you're younger, you get so we had an ineligible player at one of our schools for cheerleading. And the coach is just beside herself crying. And I'm just like, okay, it happens. I mean, it's life goes on. I
Move
mean,
on.
and it goes back to COVID. I remember when we started playing sports through, I know COVID, um, it came south, but I don't know if it really entered Florida. It was it just like stopped at the border, and it never really entered Florida. So like when I went to Denver, like I had uh, they were like, "What's this charge at the airport for $37?" Like I had to buy a mask, to get on a plane to go to the national conference in Denver. I mean, we have more masks down here in 2 years. Um, but I remember when the first kid got COVID and we had to cancel the first event. And then it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We gotta shut down football. We gotta shut down the football team. We gotta shut down the football, and we panicked. And then, 2 months later, like, okay, cancel the game. Do this, do that. Make sure you call the officials. Make sure you call everything else. And thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Have a good day. I mean, it was just like normal life.
We got through it.
But
We got through
yeah, I
it.
got through it.
And
So
pretty much everything you're saying is exactly why we started this podcast, because we
yeah,
want everyone to know you're not alone when these things happen, even though you feel alone on your campus that day. And there are
agreed.
people you can reach out to, and then the crazy stories are kind of normal in our our field. And so I'm
100%.
yeah. So
100%.
you
And I
just
think
had
we're
like
trying to
the
figure
exact.
out,
Mhm,
I think we're trying to define what crazy really is because that's normal for us.
mhm.
Yeah,
So as we sit and look through these stories or listen to these stories or try to think of these stories, we think, man, that's a normal day. And we're trying
Mhm.
to highlight what that is that may not be, I guess, out of the norm for athletic directors, but it's out of the norm for what people
And
do on a daily basis, I
a
guess.
non-athletic director, they would be like, "Whoa!" And we're like, "No, that's Tuesday,
yeah, I
normal
know. It's
Tuesday."
like, I
So,
mean, the only thing that you could really say as an athletic director that is true is like when someone says, you know, how do you like your job? I love it. I mean, every day is different. Every day is different. I mean, and for you new ADs out there, never, ever, ever make a to-do list because it'll be wrecked by 7:30. You know what I'm saying? I used to make
You're
lists.
just
I'm gonna
throwing
get
the
this
trash
done.
can.
I'm gonna get this done today, this done today, this done today, this done today, and then the phone rings at 7:15, and it's your
yeah,
day's over.
yeah, that's
You've been,
funny.
you know,
So
That's a real piece of advice right there.
yeah. Hey, what's the problem? Oh, well, our kids took a bus, and there was 32 kids on the bus, but there's only 16 seats, and here's 8 kids sitting on the floor of a bus. That's pretty exciting. You
Mhm.
know, so
so
Yeah. Well,
so
I'm
Dan, before
excited
we
for these 3 stories that you have coming up. I'm like, I can't even fathom what they could be. I'm like running in my head, like, what could it be? What could it be?
okay,
well, before we jump into those, let me ask this question simply because there may be some listeners who are geographically challenged. And you two know where Polk County is, but can you explain for our listeners where Polk County is in Florida? And I know COVID doesn't exist there. We've discussed that, but we place on a map for people that may not know where Polk County is.
we are smack dab in the middle of Florida. We're Central Florida, and basically we're right in the middle of the state, Central Florida, right in between Tampa and Orlando. Um, we have some of the finest beach sand that you could ever dream of. The problem is it's buried under about 6 feet of orange groves, but you can still get to that sand if need to. No, but we're more of we have 554 lakes in Polk County, so we are a lake community. I live on a lake in Winter Haven, so it's a great place. I like it, enjoy it because um, I'm about 30 minutes from Disney, and that is a whole nother world over there. That is like New York City traffic jam. You'll spend your life in Orlando traffic, and then Tampa's 30 minutes down the road. So you have access to the coasts and the beaches, but then you have access to the lakes, but you're also not spending a majority of your day sitting in traffic. But
Okay.
the issue with Polk County is we got it all. I mean, we have schools that are literally in the middle of nowhere, and then we got our inner city schools, and the size of our county is basically the size of Rhode Island. So I could be at my farthest south east school, and it will take me probably no traffic an hour and a half to get to my farthest northwest school in
But
travel.
if you want to talk about the middle of nowhere, come to Arkansas, and I'll show you some middle of nowhere places. Not
I've been to Arkansas once, and when I was coaching college football in Texas, we drove to the AFCA conference, and we drove through Arkansas. We got pulled over by a state trooper, man. And you talk about um, a Hispanic and two Italians in a black SUV Suburban getting pulled over in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas.
yeah.
Man, it was. We got a we got off free. They were very nice and gracious after about an hour and a half of questioning and pulling all our clothes out of the stuff, because we were GAs, so we had to bring everything to the national conference and drive, while the full timer guys flew. So I'm trying to explain to the guy, yes, I'm a college football coach. I know I have all the, trust me, we're the grunts. We do everything no one else wants to do, and get paid $500 a month for it, and we love it. So.
Well, you know where Midwestern State is in Texas. I'm very familiar with that. Played regionals there when I was at the collegiate level, so I'm familiar with that. And I think you got a degree from there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That's where I got my master from. And everybody told, I was like, yeah, I used to live in Texas, and I tell them where it was. They're like, we gave that to Oklahoma years ago. And so, but I remember as a GA, you had to teach class, and they gave me walking. Let's give the 290-pound guy walking class to teach it. And so I'm like, yeah, but it was actually one of the best classes I ever took. I mean, or taught. It was great. I mean, those kids were excited. We did the heart rate challenge, but the problem is there was this big pole there with a white siren on it. And I was like, what's that? It looked like a birdhouse. I didn't know what it was. And they're like, oh, if that thing goes off, run.
Yeah.
Bad news. What is it? And they're like, it's a tornado warning. It's a tornado siren. that thing goes off, run. Well, where we used to walk and had walking classes was around a little lake at our outdoor education center. Well, the kids get halfway around on walk, staying around. That siren goes off. I'm like, I'm full on panicking. Beep, beep, yelling at them, run, get out of here, get out of here. So I get all the kids. I'm like, they're like, coach. I'm like, don't coach me, run. We'll meet later. And I get over there and I go over to our basketball arena where my office was. I come running in there, and they're like, what's going on? I was like, tornado's coming. And they're like, oh, yeah, we test that thing once every Monday a month. I'm like, yeah, I should have known, because my kids are not home. I didn't know. They said that thing goes off, you run. I mean, I moved there from Colorado. I just knew there was, my father was stationed there in the Air Force at Shepherd Air Force Base. And he left 3 days. He had training there, and he left 3 days before that big one hit in Wichita Falls, where they said it was a mile wide and just destroyed the city. So I didn't know any better. I mean, they told me that thing goes off, you run, and I ran. And took 35 kids with me. So.
Yeah, we do tornado drills. Like some schools do fire drills. We do those as well, but we do tornado drills, and what happens when that thing goes off, where you go, and how you get there safely. So that's a real life issue for us in Arkansas.
Oh no, uh, unfortunately, my life has changed, and I went down the TikTok rabbit hole, and I can no longer get out of it. And there was a little video on there about how kids have changed, and someone put on there, hey, we got 2 inches of snow, we're going to cancel school. Then the second one's, hey, there's a tornado coming. Get in the hallway, put a book over your head, and we'll be having pizza for lunch today. That sort of
Just part of the
time.
day.
It's just part of the day. So, all right, so we'll get started. I'll kind of go in reverse order because I think the best one is the last one. So last night, and I won't say the schools obviously, but last night one of my athletic directors sent me a video, and it was a TikTok video, and I was like, oh God, not it. Yeah, I'm trying to watch the Olympics, and I'm trying to, watch the USA women's hockey team play Canada, and because I used to coach in Canada, so the only time my friends hear me from in Canada, I'll text them, I'll say "Go USA," and it's like, oh, it must be the Olympics because that's the only time we hear from you. And so it's a coach at one of our prominent schools, um, one of our charter schools. So we don't really control them, but we do. We kind of don't. It's kind of that gray area where it's like, it's like she's still your. You used to be married, but then you're not married anymore. But then they want child support, but you don't have to give them child support. But then you still kind of can
Worst
kind of run their life a little
analogy
bit. So it's kind of like I said,
ever
Florida's
quoted.
weird, and so he recorded the conversation, and our athletic director, she's at the newest school. And it's a first year program, and if you ever started a brand new school, the hopes are high and admirations. I mean, you're going to win a state title and everything's good, and then by middle of the season, like, can we score? And you just struggle as a new school. I mean, and especially we're a hotbed in Florida for our football. We just had Netflix in town, or a company working with a thing on Netflix about you know one of my teams at Lakeland. We sent 8 kids to the University of Florida that ended up winning 2 national championships. So they're doing a documentary that's going to be on Netflix in the fall about it. And so we're a hotbed for Florida. Well, the coach is recording the conversation about, hey, coach, I think it'd be a good idea, schedule and da da da. She's like, well, we're not ready for you guys, and gives a story about, they're just not ready, and would, maybe in the future, but right now, well, the kids are recording it on TikTok, and then they start making fun of the school for not wanting to play, and then it goes viral. So now I got an athletic director all upset and about, well, now my kids think that I don't think they're ready or they're good enough, and it destroys my credibility at the school. So you had this, athletic director, and I'm sitting there just like, how does this happen? I mean, how does a older coach who's he's older than me. I'm 29. Like the 15th time. That's the one thing I've lied about my age so much. I think I think I turned 49 in March, but I've lied so much about my age. That's about the only thing I'm truly dishonest on. But I'm sitting there going, why would a coach have kids record a TikTok about? I mean, it would, and to describe the schools, I mean, it would be like the University of Arkansas, you know, wanting to play a high school team in Texarkana. I mean, there's just no way. And so I'm sitting there going, and I'm like, I've never seen this before in my life. Like, what in the world has come over coaches to that you want to record a TikTok of a school that is by no means ready for that level of football yet? They will be, no doubt. But I mean, they're a brand new school. They're going to have their first senior class next year because we built the school 9 through 11, so there's not one senior walking the hallway. And I'm sitting there going, why in the world, would you record it and put it on TikTok? And so of course she sent it out to the group AD text, And it was just like, wow, oh my God, wow, oh my God. I'm sitting there going, well, I know what I'm doing Tuesday morning. I said, there goes there goes that to-do list we talked about. So it's just one of those things where it's like you cannot put anything past um anyone.
And it's one little thing that I can't even understand why somebody would want to do that, but there's so many different pieces there because now you have an AD who personally feels bad, right? Professionally, she thinks it looks bad, but she also personally probably feels bad, he or she. And then you have the kids who now feel bad because they feel like maybe they're not good enough. And then you have upset parents. Like this one little act that happened on social media that I don't know if it was meant to be a joke, but it has trickled down and it affected many, many people in your area. And that's the thing when it comes to social media, but actions in general. And now you and your AD are kind of stuck in the situation where they didn't really do anything wrong, but they have the situation they have to deal with. And it's just, I don't even know how you responded to that. It might be too new for you to even tell us, but that's a
Well,
deeper issue.
yeah, and then so then I'm talking to the athletic director at the school last night, and she's like, "I want to apologize. I'm so sorry on behalf of my coaches." And I said, "You didn't do it. You don't need to apologize." But she's young, and so she is absorbing all the stress of what someone else did. She had nothing. I said, she had nothing to do with it. But it's just like one of those things, which leads me, social media is like, I mean, has now, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if we had social media when I was growing up, there would be a different guy. You guys might be here. I don't know, but you would be talking to someone different. I can promise you that. You know what I mean? And there was social media in my day.
I don't
Um,
understand what you're saying, Dan. Please
you
elaborate.
know, I mean, hey, I remember getting a page in high school and had to, pull over and find a payphone and make it, see what's up. And So I get a letter yesterday. I get a call yesterday afternoon, and it's like, did you get that? It's someone in our district that was on the email that shouldn't have been, and how she even got involved is like it is a mystery as of right now. But she goes, did you get that letter? Were you on that email? I'm like, no. What email? She goes, from the lawyers. From the lawyers. I'm like, okay. And I mean, because as an athletic director, you're getting sued every day. You're getting sued because Johnny didn't make the team. You're getting sued because
Mhm.
Johnny didn't play. He didn't get his 4 at bats. You're getting sued. I mean, you're getting sued every day that you go to
Mhm.
work. So eventually, it just wears off.
Mhm.
Until I'm actually in a courtroom, then I'm really getting sued. So if she's panicking, I'm like, just send it over. I'll look at it. Okay. So we had an incident in wrestling last weekend where um, a kid did a move, what's called I don't return to the mat or whatever. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
the only wrestling move I ever knew that when I wrestled in high school, they put me in a Saturday Night Ride, and that kid whispered in my ear, "Count the lights, count the lights." I'm like, one, two. And I'm trying to put my shoulders on the ground. And so and I guess he did it excessively. So the official, basically took away a point, addressed it. They went on, finished the match, and there's obviously a kid that is an experienced wrestler versus a kid that wasn't an experienced wrestler. Um, well, of course, the I can't say helicopter parents because that term has flown away. We are now in the bulldozer land of parents. They're plowing the way for their child not to feel, see, hear anything that could stop them from being the best in the world. And she went up to the other wrestler and just, kind of said, you're a dirty wrestler, and used some profanity, and the kid was, and kudos to the kid for walking away, which I think is the most shocking, that the kid just didn't say a word, and left it alone.
Saw
Well,
maturity in that.
yeah. Well, then the the mother, where does she turn? Because her voice needs to be heard. She turns to social media. So she puts the video online of her kid just like, ugh, I mean, it looked like a bear attacking a salmon. I mean, I mean, it was just like, yeesh, or it looked like me attacking a buffet after the pandemic. You know what I mean? When they shut them all down, we got to go back for the first time. I mean, it was just like, what? And she's talking about a legal move and all this stuff and all this stuff. Well, then all of a sudden the other parents and they never mention any names, so it's like, look, I said, look, this has nothing to do with us. They have the right to free speech. Let them do what they want to do. Well, then the other parents get involved. Now they got to now we're tied up in this lawyer thing over social media
Hmm.
of and I'm like, and the other kid wants the post to come down. I'm like, why do you want the post to come down? It makes your kid look pretty good, because if I'm the
He's the
kid,
bear.
if I got to wrestle you next weekend, don't feel good. So that video, and then you're caught in this war of social media and parents outside of school that gets drug into school. And that's one thing I think, what, like, probably like fights are up in school and this and that, because back when I was in school, I'm going to get you after school, and then you fought after school and it stayed out of school, and
And it was
and
done.
yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, I went to high school in Alaska, so you did beat each other with salmon, and you're Dustin, you're in Arkansas, so you probably go in the woods somewhere, which is probably at any turn of your shoulder
Right.
in Arkansas. But nowadays all the stuff in social media gets put in school, and I'm sitting there going, like, these parents are getting you know cease and desist letters from social media posts, and they send it to all the school people. They didn't even send it to the actual parent. I'm like,
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
yeah,
you
it's
and
like,
your AD have any control over that at all.
no, and then we're drug into it. And it's
Mhm.
like, I told everyone, I said, this got nothing to do with us. I
Mhm.
said, just leave this thing alone. So that was the first time for me. And, but like I said, it could happen to you, but this is the best. This story, I don't think it's ever, like, I even talked to other county ADs and they're like, what?
Mhm.
Right. So, um, last week was district soccer tournament. So right now we're in the winter sports. We're starting the regional soccer tournament. So one of our schools was in the district championship versus another high school out of county, and it's the district championship. So and I don't even know how people make playoffs in Florida. I guess we do rankings, but then they're not the max preps rankings, but they're the Florida rankings. But then max preps won't let us know the algorithm to determine, so we don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
We
It's a good time.
we're like sheep. We just look at the website and we look for a thing. We made it, and we're in. Um, so obviously, but if you win the district, you're guaranteed one of the top 4 seeds in the district. So winning the district obviously has some perks and benefits. So um, our 2 schools are going at it, and like I said, we're Central Florida, and they're right next door. They're right next door to us. So you know, a lot of my schools on the east side of the county tend to play more over on that in another county, because literally, it's a shorter bus ride to go to another county and play than it is to probably get someone across our county. So we split our county up on east and west side. So this team's playing another team from another county, and we end up winning the game 1-0. Great for them.
Congratulations.
District championship. They're
Yay.
excited. Well,
Start the celebration.
oh, right. So a kid, and that's what I'm getting to my point. So the kid on the other team says, Coach, that kid's ineligible
A
on
kid.
our team. Yeah. Well, then that coach goes to the AD. Hey, little Johnny just said that kid's ineligible
On your team.
on our team. This is right after the game. the AD, the athletic director, refuses to give the trophy to our team. No, you guys cheated. You guys got an eligible player. There's going to be a full-on investigation, and then if you're cleared, we'll mail you the trophy. And so I'm like, so
in
of course
front of
I
all
don't
the
know
players, right? In front of
yeah,
in front of all the players.
so our kids are wanting the trophy, you know, the AD, because everyone always asks, was it the coach? I'm like, no, it was the athletic director. Like, truly, yeah, an educational based athletic director. Like, no, can't have the trophy, can't have the trophy. You know, I'm like, so I'm hearing all this. I'm like, come on, this, you know, and of course in our world, and especially me, you know, Lannis, is this you? Nice try. You know what I mean? Hey, good one, pal. Good one. Nice. Hey, I gotta go. You know, because you think someone's pulling your leg, and they're like, no, you know, they wouldn't give us a trophy. And so then I called their county AD. I was like, hey, you're not gonna believe it. And he goes, you're kidding me, right? He goes, you're kidding me. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding you. I said, so like, you want to get lunch? Maybe this week, and I can pick that thing up, and you know, well, you know, and I'm just like, you know, this, you know, is it adults? Is it kids? Is it ADs? I mean, what goes through people's minds sometimes? It just, you know, not that I have the most, you know, common sense of anyone, but it's just like, you know, the things people do in these untold stories. I mean, who in a million years think that another athletic director would be like, no, I'm not giving you the, and so he sent an, so he sent an email the next day. Hey, it's been 24 hours after I called this county AD, and he goes, hey, I apologize. 24 hours later, I've kind of, you know, which goes back to a lot of our things, you know, that cool down period where
24-hour rule.
Let's take 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let things calm down. I mean, there is a reason that we try to do those things. And he apologized. Well, then 5 minutes later on the email, it's like a 5-page book on, like, you know, because in Florida, you have to play in so many regular season games in order to be eligible for the state tournament. Well, he's got game by game. Did not dress. Did not see this kid on film. And I'm like, so then I, you know, of course, I was like, okay, here we go. You know, I thought it was done. Let's move on. So now I got to send an email, you know, because that's just how guys are. You know, I mean, he's going to send an email. I'm going to send an email, and then you know, and then we'll, you know, and I'll keep sending them until he stops. And it's not about anything else, but who sends that last email and makes the other person not send that last email. And so, of course, I responded and was like, you know, and told him how, you know, how was it, you know, like, how would you, I said, here's the problem. You're telling us we cheated because we didn't know the rules. But the fact that you don't know the rules either, because in Florida, if after the investigation, if it does what you say is true, and we have to forfeit the game, you don't win the district title either. There's just not a district.
You don't move on.
No one moves on. It just is what it is. And I'm sitting there going, and so I'm sitting there. So you guys jinxed me. So I had 3 things that I've never heard of in my life. So
I'm just still thinking about your last story though, like you're innocent until proven guilty, whether it's in like court of law or the FHSA. Like
but my thing is,
wrap my head around that.
It all started from a kid. Like, they took it and ran with it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if we took everything that a kid did and ran with it, we wouldn't have jobs.
We'd be in trouble.
You know, but it's just like,
well, a kid too, that not just a student, but like a student that just lost, right? Like, there's some emotional stuff going on there. Like, you just lost, your season just ended. You know, that's not good for anyone.
Well, it just reminds me of Waterboy. He cheated. Everyone's like, he cheated. You know, like, you know. But that was down in your part. Oh, that was Louisiana. Pretty close to Arkansas, though.
Well, think about those 2 stories, though. I mean, you look at the wrestling situation where parents took it and ran with it, and then you've got the soccer situation where a kid ran with it to start, and in the wrestling situation, the kid was just involved in the situation, and then it goes crazy because parents get involved. And in this soccer situation, it was a kid that ran with it, and then it got some parents involved or an athletic director involved that basically said, "I'm not giving it's mine until you prove to me that he's eligible." Be just two very different situations, but two very different outcomes based upon students being involved and parents being involved.
I mean, just look what happened since Thursday when we booked this till till now. I've had a coach do
This
something
is not our
crazy,
fault.
a
Go on the
kid do
record.
something
This
crazy.
is
I
not
mean,
our
just
fault.
like 3 crazy stories
Mhm.
in a row. But it just, and the thing is, you have to. I mean, truly, I feel bad for our kids because, in hindsight, they didn't get to experience, what it is to hold up a trophy in victory after a contest, and then their families in the school and everyone involved couldn't, capture that moment. Um, you know,
Pictures, all that stuff. Hmm.
but you really, I mean, I hate to say it, not, but you have to laugh. I mean, you
Yeah.
just have to like, it's just like, I think it goes back to that show on CBS, Big Brother, where like expect the unexpected. That's our job as ADs. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, we do a thing at our conference with the Florida High School Athletic Association, at the AD conference for the Florida Athletic Coaches Association, and we entitle it "Yes, This Did Happen." And it could happen to you, because people just don't believe that these things could, because you don't,
Yeah.
I mean you don't think about it. I mean, has any AD ever gone to a district match and said, man, I hope the AD gives us the trophy? But now it's like, I will be like, okay, is this guy gonna, should we, hey, it's gonna be like,
Take the trophy and run, just in
you
case. Just
know,
take it
it's,
and run.
well, I'm going to treat every district championship like because I was, because I have a crazy story. I mean, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I went to high school in Alaska, college in Colorado, coached in Texas, coached in Canada. I've been all over, but I just got to go back to my roots in Brooklyn, New York, going, you know, okay, we're going to play for the district championship. Great. All right, Johnny, you hold the trophy. Yeah, it's like you gotta have a third party hold the trophy now. I mean, it's because you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and I
And
feel like all three of your stories kind of go back to one theme, right? They all were where somebody was, you could say emotional or competitiveness jumped in. They all go back to that one part. Everyone was competitive, whether it was the parent, the AD, the kid, the coach. Everybody had that, competitive side come out. And I think the important part is that what we were talking about before is that 24-hour rule. If that 24-hour rule was at the front of everyone's mind in all of your stories, then maybe some of those things wouldn't have happened. Maybe the video wouldn't have been posted to social media, or spoken to your child that way, or the trophy would have been handed over. And then, you have so many different outcomes if people just take a step back. But, sports are competitive.
hey, I'm just glad, in listening to, Becky Moran's, version, I'm just glad I didn't have a streaker, because I mean, because
Yeah.
I'm like, because I would be like, because the first thing when I listened to hers and I talked to her was like, you know, I'm 285, 290. Do I run? Am I the one supposed to run?
Do you scale the fence? That's the question I got, Dan. Would you climb the fence?
Hey, look, when I was coaching at Lakeland, lightning's big in Florida in the fall. So, anytime the kids hear lightning, it's like, it's really close, and we have every lightning software known in America. But the rule of thumb is in Florida, if the two birds on the wire haven't left yet, the lightning's not close. So obviously one, I mean, I don't, it must have struck like 10 feet from us. I mean, because it was one of those things where, like, every kid made the decision to leave. I mean, like, and the coach was bullied into blowing the whistle to cancel practice. I mean, that's how close it was. So all these kids are running off fields, pouring down rain, it's lightning, and we have these poles on our practice field that had that chain that that chain, and it's just supposed to keep the world out, but it's just one little chain. It looks good, but doesn't do anything. But all the kids are just, I mean, they're hurdling like cattle, and I'm like, of course, I'm running, and when you're coaching, you're young, you're youthful. I was 29 for probably the 10th time back then, not the 20th now or whatever I'm at now. And of course, I'm going to jump the two, you know what I mean? And of course, like I mean, it's about 8 feet. I mean, it's about 8 feet high. 8 feet high. Now, if you get an eyewitness, they'll probably say it's about 2 feet off the ground. But for the sake of the story, I'm going 8 foot.
But your story,
So I'm running. So I jump over that thing. I jump over that thing because the kids are doing it. And all of a sudden, man, it was like toe caught the end of that chain, and man, I remember putting my arm down to save me. And then broke my elbow. You know what I mean? So that
no.
so try getting something done. Come on, guys, I'm going to run you. I'm going to run you. I'm going to run you. The season was an end for me. I was a wash then. You know what I mean? So, but
is that on video?
No video.
See, that's why you're glad TikTok wasn't alive at that point.
Oh man, I'll have to admit there is some, there is some funny stuff on TikTok. But there was one TikTok I saw the other day and I was talking about, because I think China invented TikTok, I guess. I don't know. I'm just, I'm trying not to let social media, I want to be able to think for myself and make, decisions for myself. But this guy said, another country invented TikTok. And in their country, the algorithms show the youth doing, science experiments and engineering things and these great accomplishments. And then it says, what better way to ruin another society is with their algorithm and showing people being famous for doing absolutely nothing that can contribute to society. I'm sitting there going, man, this guy's got a point. Stop watching it, stop watching it, and then even some of my friends are like, how come you get all the funny TikToks? Mine are all about teaching and working out. I'm like, man, what algorithm do they have written for me? You know what I mean? It's like, so I just got to delete the thing. My buddy, I sent it to a principal of mine. He's a principal in our district. And I sent it to him, and he has one of those self-driving Teslas. And he says, yeah, he goes, man, I just hit home on my Tesla. Man, I'm in traffic just flipping through TikToks on that self-driving Tesla. And it really does self-drive. He was put in there and I didn't know it's self-drove. So he put me in there. I'm in the passenger seat. All of a sudden he does something and, he starts talking, and then starts climbing in the back seat. I'm freaking out, but that Tesla was driving down the road, but good for him. So.
Wow. That's brave.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild in Florida. So, but hey, if you need an AD job in Florida, call me. The turnover rate is about 2 or 3 years.
I can't imagine why.
I mean, you can play anywhere you want, go anywhere. There is no eligibility rules. I mean, your 18-year-old, your 15-year-old kid could line up against a 40-year-old in Florida. So, hey, we're the state for you. Come on down. So,
Dan, we talked about Jeremy Boone before.
Yeah.
And he talked on Sunday, and he talked about social media and just the impact. And we've seen a couple of those episodes with what you've discussed and how things have gone social media wise. And he says, don't get caught up in someone else's story. And that's what social media is, the rabbit that everybody traces that hole, getting caught up in somebody else's story. And he's big about, before you go to bed and when you wake up, don't get caught up in somebody else's story. Don't roll over and look at social media and find out what everybody else is doing, because everybody else's life is peachy, or you get to laugh at somebody else's life and you don't really get to start in your world. So it's funny how that rings true in listening to some of the stories that you've told about how we can get caught up in somebody else's story and we can get wrapped up in that story, and it's not really our world. But what we're trying to tell are stories from AD's worlds. So we want you to get into that story, I guess, is the way to get around that. It may not be through social media. It may just be listening to this podcast. But I think that rings true with Jeremy. We want you to get involved in our stories and understand what we've gone through and what you've gone through that maybe I didn't deal with, and you just dealt with it since Thursday.
Yeah. Well, and right now, as we're talking, there's an AD out there going, really, really, just like,
Why me? Why me?
and here's the thing, and if you got a story, man, I mean, you know, call them, get on, because I want to hear. Because here's the thing, we're all human, and misery does love company. And I think especially the young athletic directors need to know that, look, you can be an AD for 15 minutes or 40 years, and the crazy stuff's going to happen. And it's just one of those deals that you have to, you know, not let it consume you and stress you out, and the anxiety, and that you just have to learn to, because remember, your job is to fix it. You didn't do it, you
Mhm.
know, and but it's fun to talk about them, because like I said, every day, oh, it's going great, no complaints.
Living
Yeah,
the dream.
yeah,
Living the
living the
dream, yes.
dream. Yeah, that's it, living the dream. But it's I enjoy the profession. Like I said, every day is different. I mean, I tell people there's, you know, because the problem is you know, when you're a school based AD, um, they think you just roll the balls out at 7:30. The lights come on, and two teams magically show up and they play. And wow,
Mhm.
they don't realize the day to day, work that, because what do the ADs do? The ADs don't do nothing all day, and and I always used to tell I remember when I was an AD at a school, we did, we partnered up, and I went and tried to teach chemistry for the day. It was a disaster. But then when that teacher came and you know um was me for the day, and the bell rang, for like, she's, oh, coach, thank you so much, I had a fun day. You coming back at 4 or 4:30?
It's days
Well,
not over.
what do you mean? Well, we got 2 volleyball games tonight in the gym. We got varsity and JV. Well, I got this. We got. Well, what do you mean? I'm not going. No, I mean, you can go home for like an hour. It depends where
Yeah.
you live. See, I live 30 minutes away, so I'm just going to sit here and relax,
Well,
do
and do
some
you wanna
paperwork.
eat? Like, when was the last
Yeah,
time you ate? Do you wanna
yeah,
get
and we
dinner
can go. Yeah,
somewhere
I
real
mean,
quick?
and they
You
don't
gotta do that.
realize that when the
Mhm.
school day is over, our day is just beginning.
Mhm.
And and to all you principals out there, if your 80's out till 11 o'clock, it's not going to be the end of the world. They come in at 8 instead of 7. Let them
Mhm.
sleep in an hour. They'll work even harder for you when you can say you can sleep in an even hour. But that's the thing about people, is that our days just, the second half, our second part of our jobs, the job that we signed up for, it just starts when the school bell rings.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of people don't understand that the hours and the time. I mean,
Yep.
our phones ring 24/7. We're getting text messages on Sundays. We're getting calls from parents, and and it's amazing. And I always tell teachers this too. You know, if a kid's doing bad in school and you call the parents, that's a lot of them don't call back. But if you want to have a parent conference with that kid, sit them out the first quarter of a football game. You'll have a parent conference at halftime, whether you
Yeah.
want one or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing, what sports can do for people, and the impact sports has on people's lives. And it's been I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for sports. And I like the fact that I can be involved with all different sports. And because the one thing I've learned, and I swear by this, female athletes are way more competitive than men. I mean, you try coaching 70 girls on a weightlifting team. I mean, you have to be a coach, a strength coach, Houdini, I mean, a
Psychologist, counselor.
psychologist. I mean, and you're going to spend all your time not wanting them to form different groups, but they're going to form different groups. But then you got to be careful, because there's going to be groups within the groups, and then they will go to war at each other, and they're all one team. But you know, enjoy being an athletic director every day. I am blessed and fortunate, and like I said, but as you get older, you just learn to laugh. I mean, it's unfortunate, things, you know, do happen, but like I said, you just have to laugh it off, because it is our profession. And that's why I enjoy networking as much as I do. is because you can go home and my wife's in the private sector, so she doesn't understand you know public education and the demands and the expectations on us being a public servant. So that's why I enjoy going to conference and networking. I do learn some things, obviously, and I try to teach as much people as I can. But to hear the stories and laugh and just know that the main thing is you're not alone out there. You're not alone out there.
And I think
No,
that's
and
what's fascinating, Dan, is somebody who's been doing it as long as you have. Went to school in Alaska when Alaska maybe wasn't even a state at that point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not really sure. But you experienced something, and you told 3 stories that had just happened. It's not like this happened 15 years ago, but you
No.
have stories from 15 years ago, and so some of this stuff is very, very relevant, and people are going to deal with these issues. But I think you hit the nail on the head. We've got to laugh about it because we put way too much time in to not laugh. I mean, there's stressful moments, but there's times you got to just sit back and say, I can't believe that really just happened.
Yeah,
Yep.
because like with Becky, I mean, because I'm sure a young AD, they get a streaker, it's full on panic. You know what I mean? They're gonna dart out the gate and chase the kid, and then I'm gonna be like, 400 or the 200 in track. What could we use him at? We just gotta get him to put clothes. If we put clothes on that kid, he might help us in track.
It's pretty
You
fast.
know what I mean?
It's
Like,
no hurdles. The way he
so
went
when you
over
get
that
older and
fence,
more experienced,
you're gonna
that's
get
what
him.
you think of. It's like,
You're gonna get him in hurdles after going over that fence.
yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, I think that kid might be able to help us in track. You know what I mean? I'll deal with the streaking later, but
Yep. No, that's a good point, Joe. Always look at the
when he
positives.
comes back from suspension, we'll, but he may not come back because,
He's not
I'm pretty
ineligible.
sure
He's
that,
just suspended.
yeah, I'm sure there's a kid underage in here, so someone's going to want to throw the book at him. But, hey, we can shape this kid and mold. We can change this kid's life by getting him on the track team because, as you saw, he's pretty fast. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thank you
I
to Dan
appreciate it.
Talbot
And,
for being
yeah,
on with us today, and thank you for Ticket Spigot for sponsoring us. And we will be back next week with some more untold stories from athletic directors.